All right, so what's everybody drinking?
I am drinking Elijah Craig small batch Kentucky bourbon.
Ooh,
Fantastic.
I had never heard of it before. It's on sale.
Oh, good. Gotta
You have to
respect
make
the bargain.
the most of your time in the liquor store too. The way they're doing it is, there's lineups. You got to wait to get in. It's
Everything is
one way.
Yeah, everything is far more efficient now. Like
it is and it isn't. Like if you walk by the whiskey section and then you remember later that you want whiskey, you're out of luck. Like you got to go out and wait in the line again.
You can loop around within the store. You just can only go down an aisle.
Maybe in New Hampshire, live free or die.
you can't. They're like, no, you get one pass at this aisle, and then you got to go to the fucking register, bud.
No, that's actually how they do it. It's like a corral system, and you can't go the wrong way.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, see, they're doing that at the supermarket too. At this morning when I went, and I just said, "Screw you!" I forgot something, and I went back.
How dare you, you rebel!
They didn't say anything to me. I mean, there was 4 people in the store, so.
I'm unconvinced that it's actually helping anybody.
I mean,
social distancing in general, maybe. One-way aisles at the liquor store where you're not allowed to go back for whiskey. No, it's not saving anyone. No,
I feel like it's reining in those people that like to meander. And those people that like to meander will definitely clog shit up. I've definitely gotten caught behind the lady that's like, oh my goodness, there's my cousin's kid and there's the chips right here and I'll just be a minute. And I literally picked up the back of my cart and I was like, like, bitch, there's someone behind you. You can't stop. Like, you're at a main intersection and you're blocking 3 ways.
Yeah.
I'm not the best with this stuff.
There was that woman in the grocery store that was like shouting 3 aisles over to her friends, and you couldn't go around her. That one was fun.
I am drinking Screwball peanut butter whiskey with rum chata and a splash of Tennessee vanilla from Jim Beam, which is amazing. There's not one part of this that isn't alcoholic, and yet it tastes like a milkshake.
And I'm just doing straight Jim Beam vanilla.
Yeah. Oh, man. I went down this rabbit hole on Twitter today, just trying to get caught up on everything that was going on. And I mean, it's all disappointment.
You can never go there. I can never go there either, even though it's like the RCMP's alert system now.
Yeah, I noticed that. You guys just had your first, and it's awful to say, you just guys had your first mass shooting in something like 17 years.
Oh, I guess it depends how you define mass shooting. It's the first one in a while. Yeah. And its details are spotty. They don't know the role that guns play. The investigation has not concluded. The RCMP has not said anything to anyone about what happened.
Oh, how political you are.
But there's already legislation in Parliament about banning assault rifles.
Here's the thing. You guys don't have access to assault rifles. They're talking about banning guns totally.
No, that wouldn't work.
I don't know if you caught this or not, but you guys all they literally were saying, okay, we're looking for far stricter gun laws than what we already have. You guys already have a universal registry, which in my opinion, the only next step is then confiscation. That's the only reason to have a registry. You have a ban on assault weapons. And I mean, I don't know how your country actually defines them.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows what an assault rifle is.
Yeah.
So what do you think we have for a registry?
From what I read, anytime that you purchase a firearm, you have to that purchase is registered to your name on a Canadian federal registry.
Okay, that is for restricted firearms. So there's three classifications. There's unrestricted, restricted, and prohibited. Prohibited is pretty, yeah. Prohibited is pretty well what you would consider prohibited: machine guns, shit like that.
Yeah.
What is the policy on swearing, by
sense.
the way, and on the Three Drinks Deep podcast?
What is? Oh yeah, there's like no rules at all. You can do whatever you. Turns out you can do whatever you want on the internet, and no one can do shit.
It's true.
The one rule that we generally follow is you have to be at least a couple of drinks in by the time we start. Like you have to, at some point, reach the 3-drink mark as things are getting into the swing of things, if you're not already there at the beginning.
All right. Well, this is number 1, so
that's perfectly fine. This is number 3 for me, although I had a little break.
You're gonna be too deep, man.
I could. That's why I had a little break.
You're gonna finish too deep.
There is no such thing as finishing too deep on 3 drinks deep.
I'm not familiar with how things work around here.
I have gone off the rails, and some of these podcasts have not been posted.
Yeah, we've had people literally fall asleep.
I've said goodbye to people for 10 minutes.
Oh,
I've ended the podcast without Dan. Yeah.
I went to go to the bathroom real quick, and then she was like, "Okay, that's it for tonight, guys. Bye," and ended my podcast without me. So thank you.
As you do.
Yeah. We were going for a long time. That was totally justified on her part. It was, frankly, good judgment.
I mean, people were falling asleep.
But it's like the pirate code. These are, it's more like a set of guidelines.
Duly noted. Yeah, so the way gun control works in Canada, you have unrestricted, which is rifles and shotguns, generally not restricted by caliber or anything, action, anything else like that. Restricted is larger caliber rifles and then all pistols. Anything with it's barrel length that actually sets rifles apart from pistols. So your pistols are all restricted, and then the prohibited stuff is machine guns. Old muskets and shit like that are all unrestricted as well.
Yeah, I think that's like the general rule, but you still have to pass a background check in the United States.
You do in Canada as well. You need a background check. You need character references. You need spousal consent.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying right there. Yeah, you need spousal consent.
Really?
You need 2 references, and you have a universal background check.
Yeah. The one you probably will laugh at us for is the magazine size limit.
I laugh at you for a number of reasons. Spousal consent? Bro.
So pistol mags can't be bigger than 10. So 10 plus 1, basically, because you can have one in the chamber.
Yeah.
And then long gun magazines can't be bigger than 5. 5.
Whoa.
Where do you even find an AR mag that can hold 5 rounds?
From a Canadian supplier, obviously.
What is there, like a big plastic stack in a 10-round mag?
Yes. That's actually what it is. You can buy American magazines, cut up a broom handle, put the little broom handle pieces in there until it can only fit 5, and then you've got yourself a legal magazine.
That is adorable. You know what's fun? Okay, so there is that restriction for bird hunting with a shotgun in the state of New Hampshire, at very least. It has to hold a maximum of 3 rounds. So there is actually a wooden dowel that comes from the company that's cut and put into the magazine tube so that it only holds 3 shotgun rounds. But that's specifically for hunting purposes. Like all of my AR mags are 30 round standard mags. I have some P mags. I think I used to have some of the old aluminum military style ones. I think I've pretty much converted over. But yeah, that's Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now they want more with no rhyme or reason for it.
Well, see, this is why I say that no amount of gun control is ever going to be enough to be considered common sense gun control, because you have some of the what would be considered some of the strictest gun control laws in an individual state. Like, your gun control laws are pretty much stricter than even Massachusetts, which I consider to be fucking enemy occupied territory at this point.
Tying to the right.
Is that because?
Yeah.
Never mind.
I mean, aside from individual places like, DC, Chicago, and some other places, it's where it's really and truly ridiculous. Your national laws are already pretty goddamn strict, and then you had a mass shooting recently where I believe it was at least 4 people dead, another 7 injured or something like that.
Recent? No, the one that happened on Sunday?
Yeah.
That was 10 people.
No, that's
dead.
like 22.
22?
It was 17 when I woke up this morning, and they've just keep
Holy
upping them.
shit.
There's like 16 crime scenes. So what this guy did was he got himself a police car and uniform.
Yeah, I heard that.
And they haven't really said what he's done with it, but they've said there's half a dozen or a dozen individual crime scenes. So what people think, and this is wild speculation, is that he was driving around and pulling people over and then shooting them in their cars.
Holy shit.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously a tragedy, to be sure. Like, evil exists in this world, and that person is fucking evil.
He no matter just what, took road rage to another level.
Yeah, what no matter what mental problems they have or whatever, there's a leap beyond being human at that point. But the bottom line is you have already incredibly strict gun laws that a lot of the liberal left in the United States fucking drool over. And they're like, that's all that we want. That's all that we want. And you guys, the first time something happens, there's that immediate reaction that people want to do something, which is totally understandable. People want to fix problems. But now on a federal level, you have them saying, okay, we're going to enact stricter gun laws, which where do you go from where you already are is banning weapons.
Yeah, I mean, what do you take away at this point? Yeah. Like, you can get an AR, you can get an AR-15, but it's a restricted license, which is hard to get. I have my unrestricted, which is so I can hold a hunting rifle. That's all I've ever done with it. Never saw a deer when I was holding one.
Yeah, I've had the same problem. No, I did see a deer, and as I was bringing my rifle up to sight in on it, I heard an incredibly loud bang about 70 yards off to my right and saw my deer drop in front of me as another hunter took him down. He was like, oh, I just got here 10 minutes ago. I was so fucking pissed. I got there, I want to say, probably an hour and a half before dawn, set up into a prime spot. I was tucked in. I'm all camoed up, head to toe, looking like a stripy great pumpkin, because I don't want to get a shot either. And there I am, silent as a ghost in a perfect spot. Dawn breaks. I'm like, perfect. My deer walks out into the clearing, and I'm like, yeah. Slowly bringing my rifle up, and I hear bang. I fucking go over. This guy's like, yeah, I just got here 10 minutes ago. He's set up in the middle of a fucking logging road on a lawn chair wearing red flannel and jeans. Like, he literally went out, sat down, bang, woo, season's good. That was the last time I went hunting.
I wouldn't go again either if that happened to me, man. That's ridiculous.
I was like, okay.
You got robbed.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.
A while. I had to let that sting wear off.
Yeah. So, I mean, to bring it to the more political side, because I kind of want to bring you guys up to speed. I don't think that there's going to be success with the new gun control. First of all, because what can they take away? They already tried a registry for unrestricted firearms. It didn't work. When they got rid of it, boating accidents were down like 130%. It was amazing.
Amazing how that works out.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, lost all of my guns in a boating accident. They were at the bottom of the lake. I don't know what happened.
I don't know where they could be now.
They must be at the bottom of
someone broke in here and all they took was my guns. Who knows where my guns could be now?
No, you can't do that. You can't say that, because then they can prosecute you for not reporting stolen guns. At least they can.
People. That's what was going on when we had the gun registry. Was people would report.
Oh, everyone was
break-ins and only guns were missing.
Yeah.
And then of course, the gun people were like, well, the registry's not secure. People have targeted the registry. They're now targeting the guns, which that is a level of naivety that I don't know. There's no words for it.
Wow.
I mean, it's a convenient argument. Just because it's on the side that you prefer doesn't mean that it's not a bullshit argument. But
right.
It's I mean, it's the same thing with the I lost all my guns in a boating accident thing. It's like, we know it's a bullshit argument, but
yeah, no, there's no boating accidents. I mean, nobody thinks there's any boating accidents.
Yeah, but in the United States, there's literally more guns than there are humans. And if you think you're going to fucking flip a switch overnight and create a utopian society and go around and collect up all those guns.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I actually lived in the area of Nova Scotia where this happened.
Really?
Yeah, just maybe till I was 5. And I remember there being a gun rack on my neighbor's wall. Like, my neighbor had kids that were kind of my age, so I was over there a lot. There was guns on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I saw him go bird hunting. I don't think he never took me deer hunting or for anything bigger, but he would shoot birds in the field.
Yeah.
And that's a part of our culture, the same as it's a part of your culture, and they're not going to take that away with legislation.
Right.
No, well, they're not going to take it away with sweeping legislation that's going to be overnight. What they'll do is what they've done everywhere is chip away at it little by little. Every time something big like this happens, it's used as, this emotional impetus for some sort of knee-jerk reaction, and they try to push through a hammer, but maybe they get through a screwdriver. You know what I mean?
Well, they have enough soft power to get whatever they want through. I mean, say they ban, I don't know, the AR-15 because it's a popular target. Now, there's a lot of AR-15s in Canada. And so they've banned them and they've grandfathered the AR-15s that are in Canada, right? And now everyone who gets grandfathered gets audited on their taxes. But hey, you can avoid this audit by surrendering your gun.
Jesus.
I just thought of that now. That's how I would do it.
Stop giving them ideas.
Oh, yeah.
You can fast track this licensing process if you surrender a firearm.
So right now we have that governor from Alabama, the crazy one that thought that Guam was going to tip over if their population continued to increase. He and some
is it
other
a boat? Does he think that Guam is a boat? Why don't they move some of the people to the other side of the boat?
I will cut in video of this fucking crazy guy talking about this right here. Boom.
No, this is a island that at its widest level is 12 miles from shore to shore, and at its smallest level or smallest location, it's 7 miles between one shore and the other. Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
Very small island, and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island, and about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island. And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
But this guy, it's something Johnson. I forget what his first name is. But he's pushing forward the HR 5717, which is like, it's the granddaddy of all fucking gun control bills. It's all the things that the super liberal left drools about having as far as gun control, i.e. a registry and universal background checks and fucking licensing, a universal federal license that would be in addition to every state's individual rules. It's not like a universal license that, okay, if you're good in Connecticut, you're good in Massachusetts. No, it's, you have to have this as like the base, and then you can get your Connecticut or Massachusetts, whatever the fuck they demand as well. It's
I'm already exhausted.
Yeah, it removed time limits for how long it would take for a background check to come back. So whereas now I believe this, if it doesn't come back, I forget how long it is. If it doesn't come back in a certain amount of time, I believe in some states it's 3 days. If it doesn't come back in 3 days, then you automatically are approved to purchase that firearm. It initially sought to up that to 10 days, then to 30 days, in addition to a one gun per month limit that you could purchase. It's a fucking nightmare bill.
Seems like it would prompt people to buy more guns.
I freaked out about a lot of things. This was the first time that I've literally fucking written my congressman and been like, what are you doing to protect my constitutional rights against this horrendous piece of legislation? Because this is a violation. Oh, and it fucking approved those goddamn red flag laws that have somehow been made legal in certain states. I have no idea how places can justify that as not a flagrant abuse of due process.
That's disappointing. There's a lot of ways in which so we have an unwritten constitution. It's primarily tradition. It's primarily, well, things have always been done this way, so you have to do things this way. It's got pros and cons. I think one of the pros to having a written constitution like you guys do is that there are very clear non-negotiables within that constitution.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
I don't know how this one's being negotiated. It doesn't make sense to me.
You'd think the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed was pretty fucking clear. But people argue about the nomenclature of it ad nauseum, like there's somehow some sort of ambiguity to that statement.
So what you're telling me is that you're about to join a well-regulated militia.
Bro, I am a well-regulated militia.
There's nothing well-regulated about you.
Well-regulated militia. Yeah.
I'm going to start training fucking commandos on the back 40.
Yeah.
So you got into it with Jules apparently about immigrants or something like that?
About immigrants? Oh, no.
I don't know. I didn't read anything about this guy. I thought Jules was going to be on here. and I didn't really read any of that.
She didn't respond at all to this. No,
no, it wasn't even about the immigrants. Ugh.
It was about, okay, so California just
this one's going to be more fun because I think we agree on the guns thing.
Yeah.
California
just put forward a plan to give $75 million to private non-profit companies, specifically to give financial relief to illegal immigrants in California. Because the decision of it was because they felt that illegal immigrants would be wary of going to the government and applying for these benefits for fear that they would then be deported. And my argument was that that's $75 million fucking dollars that is not going, that of taxpayer money, of American taxpayer money, that is not going to American taxpayers that are hurting right now. I have a huge problem with that. And I understand.
Why don't they just print more? Just print another 75 million, man.
Money printers go brr.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Yeah. So on the face of it, I object to that statement because it implies a level of scarcity that doesn't exist. Like money just gets printed now. You know.
That's true. Money does just get printed now.
Yeah, but that pushes inflation. That
I have mixed,
like the market isn't
mixed issues with this. For starters, our healthcare system is failing. Me working in healthcare, I'm currently furloughed, and I work in healthcare during a pandemic. I'm not making money.
Huh.
I'm relying on the government to pay me right now. And yet we're going to give money to undocumented immigrants.
Now, another of our friends also argued that right now is not the time to punish the people that essentially that our agricultural market depend on. All the people that pick, fruit and veg and work in slaughterhouses and stuff like that.
This is the one that, I was just like, what are you talking about?
The problem with that is that no one considers food production to be a non-essential position right now. Those people are still working. Those people are still picking fruits and vegetables. Those people are still working in slaughterhouses unless those slaughterhouses have specifically shut down because of infections in them.
Yeah.
So
Tycho, Smithfield.
If anyone, those are the people that are still making money. They're still bringing home a paycheck to their families. So I think that's
every illegal immigrant works in a slaughterhouse.
No,
that was that person's argument. She was saying, well, what about these? Right now is not the time to, starve out the people that provide food for us. And I'm like, okay, that's a false argument altogether, because there's not a person alive in the world right now that is thinking that food production is a non-essential fucking business venture right now. You're protected. You're good to go. Whether you're an illegal immigrant, a legal immigrant, or fucking whatever.
Yeah.
No one is stopping you from doing your shit. What I had a problem with was, and Jules's argument was, okay, well, can you imagine living in New York City right now? You're an illegal immigrant and you're starving because there's nowhere for you to go for money, and you can't do anything, and you can't work, and all that stuff. And I said, no, I can't imagine that, because I would not put myself in that situation. My analogy was, can you imagine moving to the inside of the rim of a volcano and the government won't give you any water because there's barely enough water to keep everybody outside of the volcano alive? You're never supposed to be in the fucking volcano. I would not be living in fucking New York City illegally and just hoping that nothing ever happened. That's a gamble. You don't put a family into that situation. Like, yeah, you could be coming from someplace way worse. So you gambled. Maybe go someplace that isn't fucking a huge population hub full of cops that are looking to catch you, fucking Americans that are trying to kick you out, and employers that are trying to exploit you.
So, yeah. I disagree with your position. I think the fundamental problem with Western economies, and this is us, this is you guys, this is everywhere, is that nobody really wants to pay what anything should cost.
Oh, I'll agree with that.
Nobody wants to pick fruit, but everyone wants a $1 for 2 cucumbers. You know, nobody wants to make t-shirts in a factory. Everyone wants to buy a $10 t-shirt. Those costs have to be paid by someone. They will be paid somewhere, right? And
absolutely.
With Western economies is that they have created a system in which they will not pay those costs. And that's all of us. That's not the elites. The elites have a special level of blame for other things, but we've all gone along with this system. So in the case
I'll argue with you there, because the elites have set up a system where, okay, if we left it as either a pure democracy or a pure capitalistic market, the market is supposed to self-regulate. When we put artificialities into the market, when we keep things artificially cheap with subsidies or whatever, that is what continues to exploit people in a disadvantageous situation. When we tell corn farmers, it doesn't matter how much corn you produce, we're going to pay you X amount, and then whatever you sell on top of that, and if the value of it goes down too much, just burn it in the fucking field. That's a huge problem. We still have people starving, and we have people that don't know what fucking corn actually costs. Even though I don't think anyone should be eating fucking corn anyway. That shit's nearly poison for you. The bottom line is, when you build artificiality into a system, you make it less robust.
I agree. I think the level of artificiality you're envisioning doesn't exist. Everybody knows everything is made in China. Everybody walks into the store and they see the American-made product and the Chinese-made product, and one is $100 cheaper. And which one does everyone buy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they've outsourced manufacturing in large scale. You know, nothing gets made in Western countries anymore. And the things they can outsource, food production, they bring in migrant workers who they can sort of pay less than what Western workers would accept, right? So I don't think the elites are entitled to just reach into a developing country and pull people out of it every time they want to pay less money for whatever they're producing. But I also think it's our problem, because we're the ones going along with it. And when a pandemic comes and there needs to be aid, I think, well, yeah, it's all of the taxpayers that have created this situation. These people are here because there was jobs for them. It's a pandemic. We need to help them out.
I agree to a certain extent, in that we as humans need to help each other out. I don't think that it's a basic human right. I think those things need to be left up to people's decision if they want to be involved.
You don't think what is a basic human right?
For someone else to take care of you in a precarious situation. I think it's nice when
within reason, right? I mean, if you're doing it for Americans, then I think you ought to do it for the people who have come to America to quote unquote do the jobs that we don't want to do. In reality, they're doing the jobs that businesses don't want to pay us to do, because we have to.
More importantly,
they're not doing anything.
Yeah, more importantly, there needs to be immigration reform that allows specifically for agricultural workers. There the system needs to be far more streamlined. It can be more expensive than everyone says. It's supposedly only like $700 to immigrate to the United States, but it ends up being more expensive because of a lot of other things. And it absolutely takes way too long. But there's also a lottery system to it that limits severely the amount of people that we do take in. Like, yeah, we still take in thousands of people every day, but it's
up
not
until right now, because Trump just did what he did.
So the legal immigrant conversation is different than the one that I think we were just having, which is, should illegals be entitled to stimulus? I think if you've invited them and created these jobs for them and asked them to exist in a world where rights and minimum wage doesn't exist.
Hold on, because
that's the problem. The average American has not.
You just used a very interesting word. You just said we invited them.
Yeah, the average American is not inviting the
average American business owner or farm owner is, and the average American consumes those products that get produced on those farms. Like it's you're not putting up a sign. I get it, but you're playing into a system that requires these people to be sustainable,
right?
And it requires them to exist in a universe where they don't have the same rights as Americans, which is bullshit.
But you can't operate outside of that system. It's not like I can go to.
We can pick our own fucking fruit, Dan.
Yeah, I can't pick fucking oranges because oranges don't grow where the fuck I live. If I'm going to be able to get cucumbers in December around this motherfucker, they've got to come from someplace that's hot.
Okay.
So
I didn't say you lived in Florida.
Right. I don't have a choice in that matter to say whether or not I purchase from someplace that's ethically sourcing my fucking cucumbers. It's just a part of the system that exists. That doesn't mean that I'm inviting this system to exist. There's literally nothing that the average American can do about that if they want to continue to eat. If we're paid a livable wage.
Well, you only wrote your congressman the once, and that was about guns. So, I mean, I'm not going to ask you if you've written your congressman about this.
Even that was pretty fruitless, as I got back a form letter about, we realized that here in our state, we love hunters. And I'm like, nope, you bitch.
So here's my thing. If we're going to invite them to be a part of the society, we also, as a government, need to make it a better system that these people can become documented so that they can be part of our society.
100%. 100%. So the people who are here now should not be asked to continue existing in a system where they do not have the protections that American workers have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
By the way, I'm happy to support it.
I don't understand what the issue is. Like, this country was built on immigration. It was built on people coming from other places and stealing land from Native Americans, but that's a whole other issue.
We're all immigrants.
They still hadn't figured out the fucking wheel. What was going to happen? Come on now.
It's the most American thing you've ever said.
Hey. It's documented. They literally didn't fucking use the wheel by the time the Mayflower came over. You can only do so much before fucking foreigners come over and take your land.
Our countries have very different attitudes towards the indigenous people that were here when our collective forefathers got here.
I don't think that they do. I joke about it, but at the same time, like, fucking nobody's giving natives back land here either. No. But that's a whole other animal altogether. I feel like we need to reform the system so that people can operate within it and pay their fair share, so that when things like this happen, that they're also part of the solution. They paid into it. And these people these politicians that create these huge governmental programs that suck up literally billions of dollars. Nancy Pelosi took, I think it came out today, she took out something like fucking $2 billion from the Social Security fund to pay for the impeachment of Donald Trump. That was fucking fruitless.
That's outrageous.
The fuck do you get to make a decision like that?
Out of Social Security? You serious?
Out of the Social Security Administration.
Like, we were never going to see any of that pyramid scheme, so I don't care that much. But if
I care enough if it's coming out of my paycheck every fucking day. It's
going to come out of there anyway, man. You were never going to see that. Come on. Why do you care about Social Security?
That's the problem. The amount of money that the American public is forced to pay into a system that does nothing for them and literally exists to feed itself.
Right.
Third, there should be a huge reduction in federal government. The federal government's only fucking reason to exist is to protect Americans. That's literally what it's supposed to be there for. National defense and setting up laws that keep corporations from preying on individuals because they've amassed more wealth and power.
Listen, thanks to the pandemic,
not their fucking business.
You can thank the pandemic for the boost of Social Security in 2021, by the way.
Oh, because all the old people are going to drop off? That's dark.
Oh, yeah.
That's dark as dicks. That's really dark.
Listen. I'm just reading what the news says, okay?
No one can read your phone. Oh,
I don't check the news anymore. It's only Tuesday, and they're giving oil away. They're paying people to take oil.
Yeah, apparently
was
fucking oil
22 people dead in rural Nova Scotia. Kim Jong-un is dead, and it...
Yeah.
Kim Jong-un's not dead.
I mean, he fucking might be. He
may or may not be dead.
He went in for some kind of surgery and hasn't been seen since, but his people are
Can we call him Archduke Ferdinand? Would that be too timely? Can we just refer to Kim Jong-un as Archduke Ferdinand for the rest of the podcast?
I mean, I don't see why not. Again, there are very little rules that have to do with this podcast. I need another drink.
For the people watching that are not in the know, Archduke Ferdinand was the guy that got shot and kicked off World War I.
If anyone is watching, period, and also
nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching. But no, of the between 20 and 50 views that we usually get, if any of those people are unaware of the existence of Archduke Ferdinand, they're very happy that you are joining.
They may or may not have. I'm sure most people know the story. They may or may not have known his name.
Yeah, that's fair.
Usually with people with history, it's just the details like names and dates and stuff like that. People know the big story.
Yeah, everyone's like, I think I heard something about there was a sandwich involved. I don't know.
Well, people probably know that Germany and Great Britain were in a power struggle. Essentially, Germany, the up-and-coming superpower, was confronting Great Britain, the defined superpower.
Yeah,
and then one small death kicked it all off.
Yeah, I mean, there's always tensions that preclude.
Some regional power in 2020 may be attempting to confront some superpower, and now someone has died that was relatively important to the world, and maybe something's going to happen.
And now we're kicking off World War III as a result of.
Pour this one as a double.
All right, I've got to pause so I can go grab another drink. I tried to grab a bottle, but I was assaulted.
I'm gonna change out my stones eventually. Anyway, I'm not wearing pants too, so when I do get up, I have to turn my camera off.
I mean, you don't have to. I just have to stop the recording.
You'll get kicked off of YouTube.
I just have to stop the recording.
Oh.
Yeah, we can stop recording.
All right, here we go. I resume recording. There we go. Like it never even happened.
We all didn't just go for a piss. Totally.
Not at all. Oh my God, that's delicious.
What are you drinking now? Same thing?
Nope. Now I am drinking.
You drinking the honey?
Yeah. The Jim Beam honey.
There you go.
It's delicious.
I really enjoy Bushmills honey. If you're gonna get a honey whiskey or the Jack, those are
Jack honey is good. We have some of that.
Yeah, the Jack Tennessee honey is my personal favorite. I like a little splash of water in it, because then it's not quite as sweet, but still does the job. So I've been looking at buying a new chainsaw because I got a Husqvarna, I believe 3.
I'm already infuriated with this conversation. Go ahead.
You're not a fan of the Huskies?
No, not at all.
No. Now, why is that? I'm not going to say it's been without its problems, but it's certainly better than the fucking Poolin I borrowed off my buddy.
Yeah, no. The alternative is still the alternative is not Poulon or any of those other.
And we also got the Husqvarna for really cheap because it was just refurbished, fixed up, and we needed it on the fly.
Yep,
yeah, look, if you're using it once in a while and it works, then whatever. But if you're going to use it a lot,
well, the problem is that I took down 2 maples next to the pool with it, and it did great. It was that chainsaw owes us
for a minute
nothing. Well, I mean, I occasionally had to, clean off like the spark plug and stuff like that, but it's always leaked bar oil like a sieve. And
there is a setting for that. If you check under the case, there's usually like a screw you can turn to reduce the amount of bar oil that comes out.
No, I think it's a crack in the actual reservoir.
Oh.
Because
if
it's
could
off,
be that as well.
Yeah, if it's off and it's just sitting on the bench, then the bench will be covered in bar oil unless you empty out the reservoir before putting it back.
Yeah.
But now I'm having issues with the throttle because the throttle is it's like a plastic linkage and something broke in there. So now you have to really grip it like a maniac for it to be at full throttle now.
Right. So when that happens, generally people will take the handle apart and remove the entire interlock mechanism.
Yeah.
You can't suppose you happen to do that at a workplace, that would be illegal. But if you were to do it at your home, that would be fine.
Yeah, I feel like that is not the direction I want to go.
Yeah, no.
I'm a generally safety-minded person, and I don't feel like disabling safety functions in a chainsaw are smart practices.
We're trying to avoid hospitals.
If you're gonna disable a safety feature of a chainsaw, that's the one to disable. Like if your chain brake stops working, stop using that saw. If your throttle interlock doesn't work, you're probably fine. Your finger off the trigger.
That's fair.
Okay, so what brand of chainsaw do you recommend?
Still,
now that
100%.
we're gonna buy a new one,
it's which still do you want really? There's one manufacturer and multiple models.
Well,
what kind of diameter
3 more trees
of wood are you working on? If you have 3 more trees, just rent one.
No, I mean, because I'm using the chainsaw all the time, and now we've got 2 acres, and taking down a tree here and there for firewood, and taking down, trees that are in the way or. Whatever. It's a vital tool around the house, but I don't think I'm going to go bigger than the 350.
Okay.
Like a 450 just seems like it's too much. Like a 450. What size bar are you putting on like a 450? A steel 450?
You can go up to 32 inches on a 4. So the professional model is the 4.4.
Yeah. I don't need a 32-inch bar.
Right.
If I've got even a 20-inch bar, I'm more than adequate for what I need.
So the saw that you would use as a professional if you wanted to run a 20-inch bar would be an MS36. I think they're at 362 now. They might be at 363. The last number changes based on revision number.
Right.
The engine family is the first 2 numbers, so 36 is what you want.
Okay.
If you're on a homeowner budget, the 3 is what you want. The 6 is professional. The 5 and I think 34 are homeowner and farmer saws.
Mm-hmm. Leon just texted me. He might jump in.
Yeah, it looks like the MS 391 is the homeowner version of the 360.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
What's the price range on that? Well, it's going to be different American and
on
Canadian.
the 391,
Yeah.
There's no prices on the websites. You got to go to the dealer to buy them. Still's slogan in Canada is "Not at Home Depot." Like that's literally their slogan. They have a dealer, and this is why, by the way, I don't like Husqvarna is because their product support is terrible. There's no dealers. There's no parts supply chain.
Well, there's a Husqvarna
no one
dealer.
That will work on them.
Actually, no. That's a steel dealer, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, if you live in rural New Hampshire, your better bet is probably steel anyway, because they're much easier to work on. And like we could go down a lot. Like I could talk for hours about this. I could talk about how Husqvarna builds their clutch drums and how they're mounted on the opposite side of the sprocket, and that's stupid.
Why are they mounted on the opposite side of the sprocket, and why is that stupid?
I don't know why they did that, but that's stupid because you have to disassemble the entire chain brake every time you want to take the chain, every time you want to flip the bar or take the chain off, you have to disassemble the entire chain brake mechanism. You have to take it apart. It's terrible.
My Husqvarna, I don't need to do that.
Oh, so is there? When you take the cover off the side, the sprocket cover, is there just a sprocket or is there like a bigger wheel in front of where the chain sits on the sprocket?
There's just a sprocket.
Well, maybe they smartened up then. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, it's like a few screws and 2 nuts that you take off the posts, and then you can flip the whole bar from there, and like the chain just goes right around.
Flip your bar, by the way, every 2 tanks of fuel.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, as long as you know that. I don't want to get too far into a technical conversation about chainsaws. I feel like the viewers that we have will probably diminish if we do that.
I mean, maybe. Who knows what they even like at this point? There's been zero consistency from conversation to conversation. It's just, hey, drink along with us.
Your one viewer flips it on while he spices up his fake cop car.
Oh God, do you remember that guy that came to a party one time and he had like an old cop car that he bought and he painted it silver, but it still had the full lighting kit and everything?
Was this a party I was at?
Yeah,
I feel like not.
It absolutely was a party that you were at. I can't remember the dude's name, but he absolutely showed up in a cop car, and he went home with someone at that party that both of us know.
Huh. I don't remember that.
I mean, if you were there and it was a party at my house, then obviously both of us know that person. So that was kind of a stupid comment. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know everybody that was at those parties.
Okay, that's also fair. All right. We'll let that go then.
Yeah, it's probably for the best.
So are you wearing masks when you go out?
So, yes. Most people are not. I do because I like that it keeps people away from me.
I feel, well, the CDC did just recommend that everyone wear masks when you're out and about. But, I mean, obviously they're an American agency. So, I mean.
Yeah, no, we pay attention to the CDC. They're more reliable than WHO at this point.
Fucking WHO. They are not hitting on every cylinder right now.
I will say I am not a fan of Donald Trump. Like most of what he says and does, I vehemently disagree with. I like that he defunded WHO.
Yeah. All right.
Like you can't tell people at the end of January that human to human transmission is impossible, and then continue to retain your legitimacy as an international organization into February and March and April. Absolutely inexcusable.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Right.
Are you fact checking right now?
No. My phone is blowing up right now. Apparently everybody is like, hey, it's fucking 8:03 p.m. Let's contact Dan with everything.
Well, Dean texted.
Yeah. Dean hit me up. Fuck it. Well, ask Dean if he wants to join. I don't know.
No, Dean said no.
Oh, okay.
Dean has something going on. I think he's doing house projects because they were vacation.
Oh yeah. You can't tell people that person to person transmission is impossible and still maintain your legitimacy. You can't tell people that masks don't do any good for the sole purpose of you're hoping to keep those for medical professionals and expect to keep.
Yeah, that is infuriating to me as well.
Well, like wildly dangerous. Like anyone with any
wildly dangerous. If I wanted people to leave the supply of professional grade N95 masks for professionals, I would say, people, please leave the professional grade masks for the professionals.
Yep. But
that's what I would say. I wouldn't say masks don't do anything. Don't use them.
No.
And here's the thing. With N95 masks, there's actually, speaking from a professional standpoint, you actually have to take a 4-hour class to learn how to properly use an N95 mask.
That's bullshit. That's the safety industrial complex making its money.
No, absolutely. No, here's the thing.
I had to take a 5-day course to learn that electricity can kill you. You shouldn't touch power lines.
Yeah,
5 days.
I had to take a multi-hour course on how to properly use any kind of respirator whatsoever. That's definitely like corporate taking care of itself in that manner. The problem is that masks
specific.
The problem is that telling people don't use masks at all is not only
stupid.
dangerous, but it's negligence. Like it's willful. You're willfully fucking putting people in position where they're going to more people are going to get killed.
Yeah,
and you can't do that as a health organization. That violates the fucking code that you take. Like, what happened to do no harm?
Spread like wildfire.
So, do you ever see that video? That's the heat map of a human being in profile. And it shows him like just breathing and then speaking and stuff like that. And like
never seen it. You could cut it in though
if I can find it, I will cut it in here. Boom. And it basically shows how far your breath goes and the droplets go and everything like that, just from breathing and then also from speaking. And then with literally almost any kind of mask, the heat map goes to just like a tight aura around the human being. Yes, the masks protect you as the wearer to a certain extent.
No, it's not really.
Well, no, there is data to show.
Here was the thing, though. For all of March, who was saying social distancing works on the premise that everyone assumes that they're infected. Don't wear masks if you're not infected. See how those two don't add up?
There's a number of things about that don't add up.
You must assume you're infected and distance yourself accordingly. But don't wear a mask. They only help if you're infected.
But wearing the mask is more about protecting everybody else.
Right.
If you assume that you're infected and you cover your face in just some way to keep droplets and your breathing from going out.
Yes, if you are assuming you are infected, you have a moral obligation to protect people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. But saying to everyone, don't worry about masks, specifically because you're trying to keep N95 specific masks, there's such a small portion of literally everything that's available to you. I mean, everybody is making their own stuff now, but like just regular fucking dust masks. Or a bandana.
Josie's actually sewing up really nice masks, and they're just cotton, but they work. They're good.
Well, that's That's the point.
Cotton will knock down most of the droplets that come out of your mouth anyway. That's what he was now saying to use after all this time.
Exactly, and good for her.
Someone from the Indian government went on Twitter today talking about how to make the best like T-shirt mask type of thing.
Yeah, people are putting coffee filters and furnace filters in them and stuff like that too. I don't know if that's really
cotton is the best.
Yeah, I don't know if it's all that necessary.
Yeah.
What I was from the start, what I started using was my old military Shema. I just wrap it around, give it a quick tie and stuff like that, and then I've got enough room to breathe and everything. The problem with it is just so fucking hot.
Yeah. So I did all the wiring in this place. I've been here maybe 5 years, and the basement's fine. The main floor is fine. The attic is filled with asbestos. So I actually have a full face respirator with P100 filters on it, and I have a couple and if shit gets really real, I'm gonna wear that. But I feel like that would elevate the mood in wherever I go. Like, hey, this guy's in the liquor store with a full tilt respirator.
Oh, I've seen it all going out.
Things have gotten real.
It's been really weird because I'm a concealed carry person. If I can legally carry, I'm carrying, unless there's some place where I'm specifically prohibited.
Have you ever carried in my presence? I'm appalled.
Probably not, because I think
I'm slightly less appalled.
I had to. Wait, haven't we gone shooting together?
No.
Oh wait, you couldn't.
We talked about it, and it just never worked out.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys went on an entire motorcycle.
We were in Canada.
That was mostly in Canada. There was a American portion, but it was almost entirely.
So that makes sense.
That was when Dan learned that a hot what was it? A hot cheeseburger?
Oh,
is actually when you say hot, that actually means open face and covered in gravy.
Yeah,
and served with boiled peas.
They were like, "Yeah, do you want a
rural
hot
Quebec
hamburger?"
is a real place, guys.
They were like, the sign said a hot hamburger, and I was like, "Well."
It did not say that. It said whatever the French version of hot hamburger is, because there was no English in that restaurant.
I specifically saw the word
we said hello, and the lady rolled her eyes and walked off and got some other young lady to serve us.
Yeah, that was true.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But no, there was something that specifically said in English, hot hamburger. And I was like, well, obviously you want it hot.
Yeah, I'd like it cooked, please.
So I was like, yes, I will take the hot hamburger as opposed to the one that's been sitting.
The one that's lukewarm?
Yeah, the one that's been sitting in a vat of cold ice water. Like, yeah, I'll take the hot hamburger. And then it showed up, and it was everything that you would expect of a cheeseburger, except for the fact that it was open and there was gravy all over everything. And I was like, I'm actually not even mad. Like, it was good as fuck.
Covering items in gravy is never going to be a worse thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to make the situation worse.
Yeah,
I don't know how poutine. Speaking of French cuisine, or French Canadian cuisine, I don't know how poutine is not taken off down there. You people love gravy.
Oh,
dude, everywhere serves poutine.
Is taking off.
Really?
Everybody has poutine.
They're using real curds, right? They're not using mozzarella.
Yeah, they're using real curds in a lot of places.
Okay.
Some places do use mozzarella, but a lot of places do use, like, even fucking Buffalo Wild Wings serves deep fried cheese curds now. Like, it's full on thing. So yes, there's a lot of places.
That's good to hear.
So good.
Around here that you can get good poutine.
Deliciousness.
There was one place in Dover that they were like one of these little like pretentious fucking bars that only served like limited edition microbrews and shit like that, and they were like, oh yeah, we have fucking prosciutto paninis and blah 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 blah, and they were like, yeah, we serve these with pork belly over pommes frites. And I'm like, you can just say fucking French fries, asshole. Like, you don't need to say pommes frites with fucking.
You can't say French fries in America.
They have to be freedom fries.
They have to be freedom fries.
Nice.
That was awesome.
Oh.
Points for Josie on that.
Freedom toast, freedom fries.
So when I was living in Chicago, I moved to Chicago like it was late August. It wasn't early September of 2002, right? So I'm there for the 1-year anniversary of September 11th. And I had been in this place, Joe's Grill, like prior to September 11th of that year. And there's a big board with French fries, and it's like you could get French fries and a cheeseburger for $3 because the dollar still had value back then. Sound like my father. He used to be able to get a loaf of bread for 30 cents. Told me the story. I didn't believe him. I understand the mechanism now, Dad. So I walk into Joe's Grill on September 12th, and there's a painter's tape, just like layer after layer, and it says "Freedom Fries."
Oh,
Jesus fuck!
Hey Joe, what's up with that? He's like, yeah, some of the customers were complaining. I'll probably take it down in a month.
And then because a month that's later, when they would forget. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of all the good things that came out of that tragedy, the sense of togetherness, the advances and like the money flowing into like the security industry and stuff like that, like the actual like beneficial things, fantastic. But all the horrible shit that came along with it, like fucking it can't be French fries because they're fucking surrender monkeys. It's freedom fries. And the whole fucking everybody's got to have a giant fucking American flag in the back window of their pickup truck, and of course the Patriot Act, and every airport finger blasting in your beehole, whatever. You're just it's there was so much more awful that came along with it. Like the goddamn, there's so many things that like whenever they happened, I would just go, you know what, the terrorists won. That's what you're telling me right now. Like the day the guy acted like he had never seen a PlayStation 4 in his entire fucking life when he tore apart my bag at the airport. Like, oh my God, whenever you have a device like this, it needs to be in its own separate bin. I'm like,
well, you remember the thing with the firewood, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell this story, and maybe we're going to gain a viewer.
Yeah, I need to hear the story. I don't know the story.
So I'm going camping with Dan in New Hampshire, and yeah, it was a bunch of people. It was Dan. It was Tiff was there. Lily and Sebastian, I believe. Sebastian may have not have been born yet. This is a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
So I'm going camping. I'm going to bring some firewood because firewood's expensive when you buy it right outside of a campground.
Oh, yeah.
So I load up the firewood, and then I think they're not going to let me into the States with this firewood. So I take my binder of arborist credentials and I go to cross the border. And the guy just like, open the trunk. So I open the trunk, and it's full of firewood. And he's like, you can't bring this in. And I'm like, no, it's fine. It's this. I've cured it. Like, I know it's walnut. There's walnut. There's no this. There's no that. Like all the major pests of that year, right?
Right.
The Asian longhorn beetle.
Yeah, that had blown over by then, but it was still like there was the whole don't move firewood concern, which I tell people don't move firewood. Like if you see me working at the side of the road and you say, can I have that firewood? I'll say, what are you going to do with it? And if you say you're taking it to the cottage, I won't give it to you. So I just want to instill in people the attitude that you don't move firewood. I have the technical knowledge to move firewood. So while I was moving firewood, I was stopped at the border. And I show the guy all my arborist credentials. Like he's flipping through all this certificate and that certificate and this college diploma and that, whatever else. He's like, you're coming to the States to work. No, I literally just want to get across with this firewood. He's like, that firewood's not coming across. Like, no, I've explained this to you. Like, I've explained this to the agriculture guy that was on standby and just walked up and had this whole conversation again. And This is the part that I'll never forget. The guy, the not the agriculture guy, he had walked away by then. He's like, this is not coming across. And so the regular guy who liked me and wanted to make sure that I felt like he was cool was like, look, sir, we're trying to prevent another 9/11 here. We can't make exceptions just because everything appears to be in order. Did the rabbit appears to be in order? And then he sent me back. It's the only time I've ever been denied entry to the United States. So I dumped all my firewood in the parking lot of a liquor store and came back half an hour later. I was like, no more firewood.
The exact wording that you used when you told me, you were like, I can't fucking believe this. And I'm like,
post 9/11 world. Yes.
Yeah. He was like, Ben gets to the campsite late as fuck. And I'm like, are you okay? What happened? And he goes, I can't fucking believe what this guy just said to me. And I'm like, what? He goes, in a post 9/11 world, we can't just let things go because they seem right.
We're living in a post 9/11 world.
We're living in a post 9/11 world, sir. We can't let arborists travel around willy-nilly with wood.
With firewood.
Like they know what they're doing. With a binder full of credentials.
I can kind of see the point because, you know, you start making exceptions for one person and then everybody prints up a binder of fake arborist credentials and starts bringing jars of Asian longhorn beetles across. Like, I get it. But at the same
this
time,
podcast ever takes off, we're making T-shirts that says a binder full of fake arborist credentials.
And another binder full of women. Yes, very funny.
Oh, holy shit. Yeah. So the bottom line is, no, but we did find a good deal on firewood that time too. If you remember, we took, because this was when I still had Gramps, that big 2-door Tahoe. We took it outside of the park and up the street a little bit. And there was that old guy that had like a sign for firewood.
We didn't find a deal, Dan. We paid for 2 bundles of firewood and walked off with 8.
No,
that's what happened. There was no deal. That firewood was robbery.
That was one place. No, I was talking about the other place where the guy had the sign for firewood outside of his house, and we pulled up, and he saw my veteran plates, and he goes, I don't know, just fill up the back of your truck, and I'll charge you what seems fair. And I was like, all right, well, this sounds shady as shit. So we filled up the back of my truck. I can't believe you don't remember this. We filled up the back of my truck.
You did that by yourself. I wasn't there for that. I would remember this.
Oh, maybe that was the day before that.
The lionization of veterans and military by the common American is something that's always fascinated me, and I would remember this if it happened while I was there.
He had an American flag and a U.S. Army flag hanging in his front yard right above a sign that said firewood. So I pulled in with my truck with fucking veteran plates all over it. It's an American truck and everything like that. And he goes,
so
just
did you
fill
tell
up.
him you were Marine or did you say you were Army?
No, I didn't even specify. I just pulled up and I said, hey, I saw the sign for firewood. You know, what do you have? What are your rates? Whatever. And he goes, well, just fill up the back of your truck and we'll discuss a good price. Well, and I was like, okay. So I go and I fill up the back of my fucking Tahoe, like above the seats, full of fucking firewood. And he goes, I don't know, $15? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds right.
Sounds all right.
I had damn near a face cord of wood in the back of my fucking truck, and he was like, I don't know, $15? That sounds good. At a place that was charging like fucking $7 for a little bundle. Like, I walk in and I'm like, I open up the back and firewood just flows out like a goddamn river. Do you remember me trying to fucking carve one of those pieces? And then you're like, Dan, that's not going to work.
I'm going to make a tiki torch out of it. No, you're
not a tiki torch, a tiki, like a carved tiki, like God.
Like
thing.
a tiki face.
You're going to burn it for 3 days. Not going to be consumed.
Yeah. He goes, Dan, that's not going to happen. I'm like, why the fuck not? And I start hammering away at this thing with like a hammer and chisel. An hour and a half later, I had like part of an eye in this thing. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is really hard. Yeah, an hour and a half. I had part of an eye. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? He's like, Dan, that's red oak. He's like, I don't know where the fuck you got this, but you are not carving that. We put that on the fire, and it burned literally until we left that place a week later.
Apologies for the visitor here.
You can't apologize for that.
No, you can't apologize for friendlies.
He's a friendly. He bites a lot, though.
I got a few of them. Can you see them?
The contingent.
No. Oh, there we are, yeah.
Sweet Ruby and Tuck.
Ruby and Tuck, they cuddle next to me during podcasts. Usually Ruby makes an appearance at some point, but she's tuckered out today.
The word viewers are dropping off. They're not sticking for this.
No, people come here specifically for the pets.
Oh, nice.
Oh, they do. Right. They do.
We've only had 2 comments in videos that I can tell, and one of them was, the 2 handsome guys talking about me and Jason, which I didn't understand at all. And then the other one was like, look at the pretty dogs.
Podcast?
What's that?
Was there 2 other guys on the podcast?
The podcast, when it originally started out, it was just me and my buddy Jason.
Well, where are the 2 handsome guys coming from then?
Oh, who knows?
Well, Ben has a pussy in his lap, so I mean, we'll get comments for that.
Look, we need your maturity level to.
No,
it's right here, boys. I need it right here.
And you need to pay your illegal immigrants a proper wage. Make them eligible for stimulus.
Not for this podcast.
How about we make them legal immigrants so that they're paying their taxes?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's bullshit that they're expected to exist outside of the fucking legal norms. This is ridiculous.
That's exactly what I said. Big
business is not entitled to reach into the fucking developing world and pull a bunch of people out of it into this quasi-legal fucking no man's land and just abuse them until they go home.
See, you said we were at odds on this topic, but we're absolutely in agreement.
Okay.
So are you working currently?
I clear hydro lines. Electrical lines. So in Ontario, most of our electricity comes from dams, from hydroelectric dams, to the point that when people refer to electricity, they just say hydro. So I clear trees from electrical lines, which notably an essential service. So yes, I'm working.
When people say hydro in America, they're referring to hydroponically grown marijuana.
It's a lot different here with the weed now that you can just buy it in a store.
Yeah, a lot of places you can just buy it in a store now.
Yeah, it's so
So is that just weird now?
Look, it's super weird to me, like when I go down to like Boston Common. Apparently Boston Common is like the place to go if you just want to sit out in the sun and smoke weed. And
Wait, you can sit out in the sun and smoke weed, but you can't sit in the common with an open beer?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
All of Boston Common right now, well, maybe not right now.
I feel like the weed heads have not treated the boozers very well. You did not hear a peep from any alcoholics saying, oh, no, you can't have cannabis in the park. No, nothing. Alcoholics understand.
You use your paper bag and you move the fuck on.
All right.
If you're lucky.
You cannot drink in public. Like, you have to be drinking at an establishment. You can't just, like, walk around with an open container of booze. But you can absolutely smoke marijuana in the middle of Boston Common right now.
That's
Again,
some low-key hypocrisy
right
that I don't get along with.
It's not even low-key.
Totally.
It's not even low-key. Like, I have a problem with it. I don't care if people smoke weed. I see the medicinal value of it. I see the recreational value of it. I see the industrial value of it. The whole fucking reefer madness bullshit that went on way back when was ridiculous, and it shouldn't have been a part of American history at all. The problem I have with it is it's an intoxicating substance that all of a sudden we're perfectly okay with happening around children in broad daylight. Like you used to be able to bring...
was always the pretext for banning alcohol in public places, right? Like
you have bars. Like there's adult places and then there's public places. Okay. I'm perfectly fine if there's a bar where
so you support liquor laws that prohibit people from drinking in, say, a park.
I mean,
like
not
we're
really.
Not talking about public intoxication or disorderly conduct laws. We're talking about having a drink like this and having a nice conversation like we're having now. You think this should be illegal in a public park?
No, I don't agree with that at all.
Okay.
But again, I
didn't think you did. I wanted to clarify.
No, I think there's a lot of like puritanical bullshit that goes along with that. That's completely unnecessary. But it's so, like, people always argue that whole slippery slope argument is that it's how much is too much, and it's real simple. Once you're making an ass of yourself and you're throwing shit or falling out of your chair,
to the point that someone calls the cops on you.
Yeah, yes. That's when it's a problem.
That's when you gotta go.
But you have cops just fucking strolling up, and they're like, "Hey, you've had too much to drink."
Well, this is the thing. The law should not look for a problem.
Right. I agree with that.
There should be a complainant for every criminal act.
Look, I have a lot of respect for law enforcement. I know a lot of officers. I've trained a lot and trained with a lot of law enforcement individuals. There's still a huge problem with law enforcement in this country being utilized as essentially a revenue collection force.
Yeah. Well, actually, the police commissioner in Dallas gave a really good speech about this after the whatever that guy's the guy that shot all the Dallas cops. I forget his name. And he said that society doesn't want to pay the cost for things, going back to the original, like they don't want to pay for mental health. They don't want to pay for this and for that. So they just assign the police to go do it. You know, the economy doesn't have a place for this person and they end up in the streets. So instead of creating a place, we send the police after them.
But here's the thing, is that what the average individual voter and taxpayer wants? Or is that what let's just call it what it is, the government industrial complex wants?
I think that's probably what the government would have you believe. I don't think the citizens want the police to deal with everything. I think the citizens want proper mental health care and proper, help for the homeless and help for this and help for that. And I know, like, okay, the government's not supposed to be anything other than enforcing contracts and national defense and internal order, whatever. Most people view the government as having a role larger than that. I think maintaining public services such that the police don't have to be involved in things that do not pertain directly to law enforcement is something most people would go along with.
Law enforcement has a critical role, but I feel as if there should be a separate entity that is specifically in charge of policing law enforcement agencies, something that's entirely separate from even our federal agencies that specifically investigate law enforcement abuse, that specifically investigate things like police brutality or police overstepping their bounds, or even just simple civil rights abuses.
Well, that's the citizens.
Yeah, and how are the citizens supposed to enforce that?
Get a gun and go shoot some cops in Dallas. That's what Washington would have done.
Yeah.
He would have done it on Christmas too.
Those fucking T-shirts that have Washington on there saying "Me and my homies would have been stacking bodies by now" are at one hilarious and also probably not at all the sentiment we should be.
Right. So your founding fathers, I think, are a little bit militant for me for that exact reason.
It doesn't mean that they were wrong, but in a modern civilized society,
it goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the benefits of a written constitution versus an unwritten tradition.
Right.
When you have an unwritten tradition, you can have gradual reform in a way that you can't with a constitution.
Yeah, which has its
like we're kind of having every election. We sort of have the coalition debate. In Canada, there's never political parties have never really formed governing coalitions in Canada. You have 5 major parties. They get elected. They each get a certain number of seats. If there's say some party doesn't take 50% of the seats, the party with the largest number of seats becomes the government, right? There's no method in which the 2 smaller parties can combine their seats to be bigger than the largest party. There's nothing in the Constitution saying you can't do that. It's just an unwritten tradition that we all agree on and that we all think should continue. But now we're starting to have the conversation of, well, should it continue? Maybe it should, maybe it shouldn't. And it's going to be a little bit, but I think that's the benefit of an unwritten constitution is you can have that conversation without having to get 37 states on board.
I feel like that's like a relatively new thing. Like we joke a lot about millennials. I don't know if that's a worldwide thing, but like we joke a lot about how millennials just think that, well, there's no reason to adhere to the rules whatsoever. We can just sort of make shit up as we go along. And I don't know if that's like,
I don't think it's a new thing at all.
Well,
like there's been issues. There's issues all the time that get resolved in one way or the other, like a gay marriage, abortion, being out and about as a homosexual. Any of these topics, like 40 years ago, would have been unthinkable. And in your country, normally what happens is the Supreme Court lays down the law, and then it's no longer unthinkable. Whereas in our country, there's a conversation that takes place over a period of multiple decades often. And then whatever it is either gets accepted or rejected. Abortion and homosexuality, obviously accepted. Something that might have gotten rejected. Human cloning. That's one where we had a conversation. It was a good 5-year conversation in the 90s. Nobody remembers it. But they cloned Dolly the sheep, and then people were like, we could do that to people. I could fix my teeth. I could fix my kids' teeth. And then everyone was just like, no, that's not going to happen. That is out of bounds.
I wonder
why
that was.
Kick that ball off the field.
Yeah, I remember that conversation.
Yeah, why was it that collectively why do you think collectively as a human organism we all decided, you know what? No, we're not gonna do the cloning thing.
It's really fucked up if you think about it.
What's really fucked up?
We, as a 20th century species, have a bad experience with eugenics, and I felt like we were going in that direction and maybe decided not to go in that direction because of where it took us before.
Well,
Yeah.
it's that slippery slope argument again.
Yeah. Yeah.
We legalized gene manipulation, and 50 years later, the world was Swedish. Who knew? I don't think it would happen like that. I don't think ever.
Oh,
Someone else's fan.
Ben's video locked up, and his audio is spotty. Oh, no.
No.
There's something happening with your video, Ben. Ben went from this to this and has frozen.
Yep.
Ben, are you still there? Now he's gone to this.
Now he's gone to this. Oh, there he is.
Hey, there he goes.
He's back.
Ben's back, but in lower res.
I think I was back well after I was back. I think I held that pose deliberately and maybe extended the length of my internet connection being unstable. I don't know. We can cut this part out, yeah?
Yeah.
We can cut anything out.
Okay. All right. Very good.
It's just a matter of actually like going back and doing it.
I'm gonna do 20 more minutes. I don't want to go like longer than 2 hours.
Yeah, no.
That's fair.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody ever wants to go longer than that.
I want to on camera, and we're cutting this part out, so I want to on camera pour not drink number 4. This is
well, you doubled, so I think you're already like past number 4 there, bud.
That double was for World War III. That's not a real double. We're gonna go to war with the Chinese, and it sucks. I don't want it.
It's not pouring a little out for your homies. It's pouring a little in for your homies.
I don't want it, guys.
Yeah.
Not even going to be able to get rice without being a traitor.
I got to go grab some more.
Do you think that's going to be a thing? Well, it's not like we grow a lot of rice in the United States. Like, I feel like you have to have a very specific... I feel like you have to have a very specific climate in order to grow rice. And I think we just don't.
You can grow rice in Canada. The indigenous people actually grow it. They grow quite a bit of it.
Do they?
Yeah.
Is it a?
Yeah, I don't know if there's different strains. I'm not a rice farmer, but you grow it in water. Like it grows, and like they have whole areas of lakes and rivers that are cordoned off to boats because there's rice growing there.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure maybe there's different rice in Asia that grows a different way. But that's like you just walk into the river and it's like this deep and you pick all the rice in like August or something.
I wonder how much rice we actually like produce. Like I guess there's part of me that's always been like, oh yeah, Uncle Ben's rice. That's got to be like something that's produced.
So gross.
It's just fucking regular ass white rice.
I make it for the dogs when they have upset tummies.
What do you have against regular ass Uncle Ben's rice?
It's nasty.
How is it nasty? It is literally without flavor or nutritional value.
Rice used to have a lot of vitamin A. Factory farming and nutrient depletion in the soil has destroyed the nutritional value of rice.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. See, Ben knows.
Pete Buttigieg actually got onto this issue, and it basically tanked his presidential campaign. I wish he had. Well,
you think that's what tanks Pete Buttigieg's fucking presidential campaign?
Tanked Pete Buttigieg's campaign. Let me admit,
he was like
what
there for me.
Can I, as an outside observer to the Democratic primaries, can I ask if you guys voted in the primaries, and if so, for who?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Actually, no, I couldn't.
Are you both? You're both registered Democrats?
This is the first year that I've actually registered as a Republican, specifically because of the absurd choices that were available to the Democratic Party this year. Oh,
they weren't all silence. Go ahead.
They were fucking absurd. There was not one candidate that. There was not.
I like Tulsi. That was who I voted for.
Tulsi Gabbard was pretty fucking close. Tulsi Gabbard was pretty fucking close. Tulsi Gabbard, though, for whatever reason, no, it's not for whatever reason.
Joe, I called you Joe. Why did I call you Joe? Oh, because you're pumping Tulsi Gabbard on a podcast. Don't do that.
What's wrong with Tulsi Gabbard? Okay, she had excellent foreign policy.
We could maybe do some ayahuasca later.
I like
the problem that Tulsi Gabbard had was that she butted head with the fucking Clintons. That was her biggest issue. And Ben's frozen again.
Oh, Ben, unfreeze. Unfreeze, Ben.
No.
All we heard was no. Aw. Ben got that shitty Canadian internet.
I love his movements though. When he does unfreeze, his slight movements, those are my favorite.
Oh, there's very little rice production in the United States. 6 states now account for 99% of all rice grown in the U.S.
Ben's back.
Arkansas, California,
okay, that's
Louisiana,
very nice. Let's not get off topic here.
I liked Pete.
Elizabeth Warren was the only rational vote that any Democrat could have. Yes.
No.
Elizabeth Warren, who wanted a fucking national gun registry.
Elizabeth Warren, and look, feel however you want about the gun control, is the only person who could have beaten Donald Trump. Senile Joe is not going to beat Donald Trump.
Senile Joe is not going to beat Donald Trump.
No, Senile Joe.
If anyone had a chance of beating fucking Donald Trump, it was Bernie Sanders. The problem is career politicians could not get behind a fucking socialist. That's why it's actually why he modified a couple of the things that he believed in to be more in line with the party, and it still didn't work.
Bernie is the only one who actually could have beat Donald Trump.
Career politicians who have done shit can get shit done. Elizabeth Warren has done shit. Bernie Sanders, in his entire legislative career, named a post office. You can look that shit up. It's like the only legislation he put forward was to name some post office after some soldier or some shit. Which, like,
I mean,
props to that soldier, but you got to do more if you're going to be a senator for 87 years.
But what about Michael Bloomberg? All he is a Donald Trump.
Yeah, look, I didn't say he was a relevant candidate, and neither do you. So I don't know why you bring him up. Like, he banned sodas? And large-sized sodas? I can be the president of the United States? No.
Fucking Bloomberg was never going to be president of the United States.
Absolutely not.
There was literally no person involved. He was literally just dumping money.
He checked his bank balance one day and was like, I'd like that to be much smaller. How can I do it?
Well, I mean, he essentially bought a ton of politicians in Virginia. I mean, that's why Virginia ended up incredibly fucking left-leaning. It was that he literally paid for a bunch of campaign funds.
The Philippines.
He was never a legitimate candidate. I don't know why we're talking about him on this legitimate podcast.
He won the Philippines.
He won what?
Didn't he win like?
You can't win the Philippines. They're another country, Abby. He won Guam.
Guam. That's it.
And I have no idea. Like, what in the fuck is going on in Guam that they're like,
I'm sure he would win the Philippines if they had any electoral college votes, but they are another country.
Yeah, too much to drink.
Unfortunately, Ontario, I just checked, doesn't have any electoral college votes either. This bullshit province probably would have picked Buttigieg.
Fucking Pete Buttigieg.
I liked Pete. I did. He was sweet. He was a teacher.
When your opponents make a point of calling you Mayor Pete the entire debate, that's not a good sign.
That was cute. Although I did see a sign today that
look, this is Canada. You can get elected in Canada for looking cute and having fancy hair, but that doesn't fly in the United States.
I know.
Your PM does have very beautiful hair.
Listen.
You see your PM? I don't really follow how that works.
He's beautiful.
We can at least agree on that. And he has a dad that was also a PM, which is
the
why
Prime Minister is
he's our George W. Bush.
Oh, I'd marry that man.
I don't necessarily agree with his politics and his knee-jerk reaction in the face of your first mass shooting in quite some time. But he does have beautiful, beautiful hair, for sure.
I think we can agree on that.
As long as we can find common ground, there's always room to move forward.
It's always just so perfect.
Elizabeth Warren. What? I don't even remember why I hated her. I think as soon as she dropped out, like I jettisoned all information in my brain about what she stood for.
She did actually say to Joe Biden very recently that she would like to run with him as his running mate.
Of course she would.
I would need a source on that because I think she thinks Joe's a piece of shit, and I don't think she would ever lower herself to running as his VP.
Can we talk about the ridiculousness of fucking the whole?
I'd go to Google News, but I'm not going to Google News again this week.
Of the whole believe all women thing, and then all of a sudden, as it applies to fucking Joe Biden, the believe all women thing suddenly isn't a thing. Warren Democrats, Elizabeth Warren.com.
Remember when that WHO guy was asked about Taiwan and just dropped the call? Just straight up dropped the call.
USA Today. I would be Joe Biden's vice president if asked. That was on April 16th. I knew it was only a few days ago.
I literally can't even remember why I didn't like Elizabeth Warren. It seems like that was like 10 years ago.
She was very much about the gun registry.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably why you didn't like her. Look,
the
gun registry is not so bad. You just buy the gun and then you lose it in a boating accident. Like, everybody knew what was going on for years and years in Canada, and nobody did anything about it. So,
and hun, we have a boat now.
If that's what they need to make them feel better about the guns, then like just register your guns. Like, come on.
Register your gun, babe. We have a boat.
Why were you taking all your guns out on a boat at the same time, sir?
Well, why wouldn't you?
Why didn't any police officer ask that question?
Because it's my Second Amendment right to take.
Why do you want to buy the boat?
It's my Second Amendment right to take my guns out on my boat.
If we go to war while I'm on this boat.
Oh,
if I want to reenact that scene from Apocalypse Now, I need to have these guns on this boat.
What was that movie about the Navy SEALs that they actually like used Navy SEALs in it?
Zero Dark 30?
Was that Zero Dark 30?
Yeah.
I'm not up on the Iraq and Afghanistan movies. Vietnam movies are kind of like a forte of mine. That's going to be quoted, by the way. Jules and Josie and Lucy are going to see that, and they're going to repeat over and over again what I just said. Vietnam movies are a forte of mine. I regret it already.
Oh, dear.
What was the Superman 2 thing that Leon kept talking about?
Oh, so this is so... Leon and I got into like a really...
By the way, what happened to Leon?
Who the best Superman was?
So who does he think the best Superman is?
He says it's Christopher Reeve.
And who do you think it is? Dean Cain?
It's Dean Cain.
Fucking knew it.
I fucking knew it too. Everyone with any sense knows it.
No, I like the new guy. The one that was in Mission Impossible.
He's garbage.
He was fantastic.
Oh, no, he's terrible.
Henry Cavill, he fucking cocked his biceps in Mission Impossible before he got into a fight. That's badass. He's fucking Superman all the way.
Yeah, okay, that was Mission Impossible. This is a different film franchise. We're not talking about that.
I mean...
We're talking about how he's got about the this level of acting right here is Henry Cavill. He looks like a fucking rock. Okay, you might drop into a whiskey if you were.
Here's the problem.
Without diluting it.
Here's the problem with that is that me personally, I think the Superman character is inherently boring because he's nearly fucking indestructible. Like he's essentially godlike. Yes, there's this one thing that is his weakness.
Kryptonite.
Yeah, but it's a fucking mineral from his dead planet. That
the beauty of the Superman character is not that kryptonite exists; it's that his weakness is his relationships with other people. You want to get to Superman, you kidnap Lois Lane. Like,
I'll absolutely agree with that. I'll absolutely agree with that.
The whole point of Superman is that you're defined by your relationships to others. It's not that you're defined by your vulnerabilities. He has no vulnerabilities, yet he's still vulnerable in other ways, right?
But here's the thing. He's never been incapable of protecting those that he loves.
Yes, he has. Absolutely. That's the premise of like every comic and every movie.
Yeah.
Is that he's incapable of protecting everything that he wants to protect.
And what happens every fucking time Lois Lane is kidnapped by Lex Luthor. Lois
Lane kidnapped by 90s wrestler Lex Luger.
Thank you for knowing that.
Oh.
By the way, have you watched...
I know the entire 90s and nothing else.
Have you watched that documentary about Chris Benoit, the Canadian crippler? What do you mean, no?
Himself on his weightlifting machine. Yeah. No, I didn't watch it, and I probably won't. If it's not a documentary about Bret Hart, which, by the way, there's a really good Radio Lab episode about him.
Is there really?
Yeah. Talks about the Montreal screw job and everything.
Really?
That if it's like that was when my adolescence and wrestling fandom ended. They ended simultaneously, as they should, because wrestling is not for adults.
All right. Well,
neither are comic book movies, by the way, and neither are comic books. But continue on with your Superman.
No. You discussed the exact event that caused the end of your childhood and love affair with wrestling.
My childhood ended on September 11th, 2001. Oh, my adolescence and wrestling fandom ended at the Survivor Series of 1997.
Okay, what happened?
Which was Bret Hart got screwed by Shawn Michaels, another wrestler who took the championship from him, and then Bret Hart left the WWF.
Really?
Right?
That one?
No. After the match, the fake match, Bret Hart was throwing monitors, punched Vince McMahon in the face, a bunch of like spit on him, a bunch of other stuff. People were like, "Oh, this is real." And that sort of permanently fractured wrestling into something that may or may not be real. Everyone before that knew it was fake. Everyone after that didn't know what was fake and what was real. And then I'll let Radiolab explain it a little bit better. That was sort of the turning point of wrestling.
Look, there's always been controversy that's gone along with wrestling. There's always been rampant performance-enhancing drug use. There's always been rampant alcoholism.
The life expectancy is under 50 for professional wrestlers, so there is an issue with.
Yeah, for a number of reasons.
Right there.
I mean, anytime you're a professional athlete, anyone can say, "Oh yeah, wrestling's not real." But the problem with that argument is that they're real athletes and they are doing real damage to their bodies.
They're real athletes doing real stunts. Everyone agrees.
Yeah, that's actually a great way to describe it. They're essentially fucking stuntmen who are actually also actors as well. They're actors that are doing their own stunts.
There's a way to think about sports. So there's two sort of categories of sports. There's performance sports and competition sports. Performance sports in the Olympics are generally rated by judges. So figure skating, ballet, twirling, whatever. These sort of gymnastics. Any sport that's rated by judges is a performance sport, right? Any sport that is either you against another team or measured by some objective standard is a competition sport. High jump, the 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
Any of the team sports wherein there's a specific set of rules and a specific, number of goals, number of runs, whatever. Yeah. Competition sports. And
that's how I usually
split it up in those terms.
That's how I usually split it up as far as Olympic sports as to what's I view as me personally, what I view as legitimate and what I view as fucking bullshit is whether it's subjective or objective.
No, I would definitely push back. I don't think that performance sports are not legitimate. I think stronger, faster, higher is the Olympic motto. And those three things are all competition driven. I think you could, if you were going to add something for the performance sports, you would say stronger, faster, higher, and more beautiful. Ruins the slogan, which is why it's not in there. and beauty is subjective to a certain extent anyway. But there's a level of human beauty that's achieved in sport that I don't think you can replicate. I think it belongs in the Olympics. Ski jumping is a perfect example. People take to flight in ski jumping.
Yeah, but that's also objective. It's whoever goes the farthest.
No, there's a judging. There's a form component in ski jumping.
Is there really? I've never heard that.
Oh, there.
Yeah, no. There's a big formula with distance traveled plus form when you're in the air.
Oh, see, that just ruined it for me.
And with the other forms of ski jumping, like aerials and stuff like that, like it's all judge driven. You know, even moguls.
I can't
you
get
do the
behind
stunts between your moguls, and there's a formula.
Look, I'm never going to say that someone should not pursue something that they're passionate about. And subjective, like what you call performance sports, what I call things that are subjective, in that there's a panel of judges that decide what is better than another thing. I don't feel like that has a place in the Olympics. I feel like if you're passionate about something, by all means pursue it. And I believe that there absolutely is beauty in sport, and it certainly is a physical endeavor. It's a sport. It's something that, you know, is the pinnacle of human.
My wife just walked out of the house. It's fine.
Okay. It is, you know, the pinnacle of athleticism in that specific venue. But I feel like if it's anything but an objective goal, then
okay, that leaves high jump and maybe the running events if you're willing to trust the clock.
Why would you be unwilling to trust the clock? Like, it's
okay, so if you're willing to trust the clock, then it's high jump and anything that's timed.
Yeah. But it's not like that's one thing. There's fucking swimming, there's skiing.
What?
I need your wallet.
Where are you going?
I'm going to get.
Silence. Hey, man.
Hey, man.
Everything okay?
Everything's good.
Good.
Just I don't know where she's going. She's going to tell me later. It's fine.
All I heard is I need your wallet and I'm leaving now.
Oh, goodness. In that context, I don't like what's just transpired. I should chase her. I don't have any pants. I'm not going to chase her. It's a good thing we only film from the waist up here.
But hey, you had your wallet on you without any pants, so bonus.
It was on my desk.
Is that a bonus?
Well, my wallet, now my car has just driven out of the driveway too, so I'm sure everything's fine.
How are you doing for bikes these days?
I sold my bike.
I know. You had a lovely CB 450.
It was a CB 450T, 1982. And
it was a T, really?
It was a T, yes.
I thought it was the F.
If you search up the video for Eddie Grant Electric Avenue, you will notice that Eddie Grant is driving the same motorcycle that I used to own.
And I had the exact same bike, just double the size, with the CB 900F Super Sport. And I think I literally just had 2 more cylinders than you. That was
Mm-hmm.
it. Everything else appeared
Everything
to
else
be
was
exactly
basically
the same.
identical.
Yeah.
I have a motorcycle.
No, you do not. You have a fucking scooter. You need to stop calling that thing a motorcycle.
If we could go back to. All right, so if we could finish the sport conversation, then if you want, we can do the bike conversation. I just got a little more time.
Okay, so my personal preference is that, yes, if you want to excel physically at something that is a sport and have subjective judging to it, by all means, live your best life. I feel like Olympic sports should be completely objective. There should be no Chinese judges that favor fucking Russian and Chinese athletes by giving them fucking 9.7s when they're giving everyone else 9.4s.
Right.
That's fucking bullshit. I feel like if it's going to be an Olympic sport, it's who got there the fucking fastest. It's who got the most bullseyes. It's who jumped the highest. It's things that can be measured with fucking digital technology.
So there's a bunch of issues with that, in that most sports are now out. Boxing's out, wrestling's out, judo's out, taekwondo's out, hockey, baseball, all of the team sports are out.
No, hockey and baseball aren't out. It's whoever got the most goals.
Was that really a cross-check? Was that really a spear? Was that really a penalty? Was that really a ball or a strike?
Look, if it's a ball or a strike, it's something that's measurable. You're always going to have issues.
It's not measurable after the fact. It's called by an umpire who's standing behind the catcher, and
it absolutely is measurable. You can digitally look. You can look at the film of something and say, "Oh, that was inside this digital box that we superimposed."
Come on, okay. Who places the digital box then?
The camera.
Okay. You understand that with baseball, this is the example we're using. Hockey's much easier, and hockey's still an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
Baseball's not, which is outrageous. The strike zone is different.
Basketball is
right. Basketball is. So what's a foul? You know,
you're always going to have
what's charging. What's traveling? Is half a step traveling? Is stopping and your foot moves a little bit? Is that traveling? Like, come on. You're always going to have non-objective standards.
There's a huge difference between whether or not an umpire is giving a fair implementation of the rules to both teams compared to a judge unfairly ranking something higher due to their opinion.
Okay, so what if my opinion on this Cuban is that it's a strike, but my opinion on this American is that that's a ball? Same thing.
Right, but you can still measure whether or not.
You can objectively measure if someone does a full triple rotation and lands on the proper part of the skate blade that they're supposed to land on and does the full kick out when they land. Like, if you can objectively measure a ball or a strike, you can objectively measure a triple Lutz.
But you can't objectively measure a triple Lutz between someone that's even an inch taller than the other person that does it, because simple body mechanics are going to dictate.
That's my point about a strike, though. The strike zone changes based on your height.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to. Like, the strike zone could objectively be, if you said that the strike zone started at 24 inches above the ground, it went out 16
so short
inches.
People can go fuck themselves. Dan, you are short.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tell you this without hurting you deeply, but you are not a tall man.
You're not hurting me deeply by calling me short. Literally everyone on the planet has fucking known that since the dawn of my existence. But it doesn't matter as long as that strike zone is the same for everybody. That's objective. I'm playing within the rules of that sport. It doesn't matter if they're the same or not. That strike zone needs to be the same for everybody, and then it's fair. If the placement of your fucking foot and the angle of your blade and the fucking...
Okay, so weight classes are out too then. There is one division in judo.
No, absolutely not.
Yes, absolutely.
No.
Why the fuck do you get a pass because you're dehydrated? You've dehydrated yourself down to the lower weight class. Now you get a gold medal even though you couldn't fucking beat that Iranian?
Wait,
that was one level higher than you?
Absolutely. What is it, Bellator that uses the... they actually test your level of hydration? They
were doing like the weigh-ins on fight night, which was better, I think, because then you're not dehydrating, right?
Yeah.
Or they were doing something different. I don't remember exactly what they were doing. By the way, if you're going to fight professionally, make sure your opponent goes to the weigh-in. Just as a piece of advice for the future.
Is here the part where I cut in the video of me getting my fucking brain kicked into space by a person that is...
I'll eat my hat if that guy was 230 pounds.
There's no fucking way that guy was 230 pounds. And
I couldn't make it to the weigh-in. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I probably should have taken the win when he fucking did the illegal kick that sent my brain into fucking orbit. But I was there to fight, and I was going to finish it.
And finish it you did, my friend.
Even if my brain was completely impaired by the concussion that I received.
So that's why you can't remember shit.
There's a lot of reasons I can't remember shit.
I'm going to blame it on that.
Yeah, that certainly was a
Where's your
factor.
phone?
Next to me.
Anyway, the point is I don't think that performance sports are any less legitimate than competition sports. And when you start drawing those lines, it ends with high jump and the timed events, and that's it.
That's true.
And I guess javelin too. You didn't cross the line when you threw the stick, and your stick went the farthest, so you win.
Yeah, that's legitimate.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, you can beat someone in judo without it being subjective. You can beat someone in hockey without it being subjective.
You absolutely cannot, though, because those sports require officials that will introduce subjectivity.
That's a totally fair argument. Even if you take someone that supposedly is a completely neutral party, I mean, so what do you do?
There's no neutral party.
Do you implement fucking robot referees?
You can't do that, though. You can't do that for subject. No, you can do that that's why you can do that for the timed events and the camera events. You didn't pass the chalk white line. The robot can determine that you didn't pass the chalk white line, but what's a cross check? There's no subjective standard. Were you truly impeded on the play? It doesn't happen. There's no robot that can do that.
Then it's its own thing, and it shouldn't be an Olympic event.
Olympics are going to look real lean in Japan. By the way, remember when Japan was trying to pretend it didn't have COVID, but just so the Olympics could go forward?
Do you remember when fucking Russia was trying to pretend they didn't have COVID?
Yeah, we have one case in a country of 160 million people. Remember when we didn't have COVID? Those were good days.
Yeah. Do you remember when fucking China was reporting that they had, how many was it? 3,300 deaths total?
I just don't understand why we're all expected to pretend that the numbers the Chinese government gives us are legitimate.
Yeah.
I don't agree with calling it the Chinese virus, but at the same time, why are we expected to pretend that it didn't come from China and wasn't exacerbated by the Communist Party of China?
Yeah.
That's what they should call it, the communist virus. That would cause confusion because people might think communism was the virus.
Yeah. So it's got to keep its own title, but... man. China trying to keep a lid on this whole thing and claim that their numbers were lower, and don't worry about implementing any restrictions on travel or anything like that. We've totally got this under control. Oh, what did you hear about fucking Germany sending a bill to China for COVID-19 related
I did not hear about
grievances?
That, but that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Germany
sent a
of all
fucking
countries
bill.
ought to be asking for reparations. That's hilarious.
Fucking Germany sent
Look,
a
we know
bill.
how reparations work, motherfuckers. You owe us. We had to pay.
Germany sent a fucking bill to China for them allowing COVID-19 to spread beyond their borders and wreak havoc on their nation.
Whatever the bill was, it wasn't enough. It's in the goddamn quadrillions of dollars at this point. Again, they're paying people to take oil. That's the level of shambles that this economy is in.
The world economy has changed, I think, for the foreseeable future. Like,
Oh, the things are never going back. It's never going to be the same. That world. Look, the world of September 10th, 2001 is never coming back. And the world of 2019 is never coming back.
Never. Ever.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. But I think that there's good and bad that comes along with that. I feel like
this is a crisis and it's also an opportunity.
I feel like the push towards more technology in the workplace and telecommuting, like telecommuting used to be viewed as like this fucking, there was always this weird like subversive like slacker mentality.
It was for like lazy people or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It was, you were somehow deficient in some way.
Yeah.
If you were working from home. And now we see that literally anyone who does something other than an actual like labor or service industry is...
Well, you weld from home, don't you?
I don't think that Jules knows that I've never actually been a welder. She's like, how do you weld from home? And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to let that one fly because I'm nitpicking at that point, but I'm a fabricator. But yeah, I think that if you can do your work digitally, if it's not a labor or service industry, then there's no fucking reason that you shouldn't be able to do it from your home.
Well, what I would hope out of this is that a lot of disabled people who were previously excluded from the workplace can be included now, based on the fact that we've discovered all of a sudden that working from home is fine.
Yeah, I hope that
it was some bullshit pretext to exclude them before. Oh, you got to be in the office. You can't come to the office. You can't work here.
Yeah.
Well, turns out you were running a fucking water cooler shell game.
Yeah, and I hope that's something that stays. Like, we live in a world where technological advancements have made distance not really a factor in a lot of things. So I don't feel like, because employers are going to realize, okay, we don't have to have a building. We don't have to have a campus. We don't have to have a fucking cafeteria with a contractor and extra insurance and all kinds of bullshit like that. We can run our entire business with a set number of people that are at their own fucking homes, and we can give them better pay and benefits to do a better job, that they experience less stress. It's better for the environment because there's less people commuting and everything like that. I hope as a society, we realize that those bullshit fucking mores that we held before, those barriers to doing things better, we've proven that it was always bullshit. It was always just well, that's the way that we fucking did it. And if I have to be here, you have to be here. Fuck you.
Yeah.
If we get rid of that mentality, because we've seen for the better part of a year, and it's going to be at very least fucking a year to 18 months before we really, really go back to what
terrible thing. Why would you say that?
Well, fucking George is trying to. Okay, what were the numbers? The Spanish.
I don't want to look at the numbers, man. Don't look anything up.
The Spanish flu originally killed between 3 and 5 million people.
Yeah,
and then
look, your podcast is titled Three Drinks Deep. I'm 4 deep. We don't go into numbers at this time.
I literally don't even remember how many deep I am right now.
What are you drinking now?
It's I'm still drinking the Jim Beam honey, which is delicious. Although my ice has melted. How do you like the whiskey stones? I've been thinking of getting some of those, and they just seem...
Yeah, so they're quite good. They cool off the whiskey. Like, I don't like diluted whiskey. Like, I'll put ice in some stuff. Jameson, I'll put ice in. Woodford Reserve, I'll put ice in.
Mm-hmm.
Bear Claw, which you may not have heard of. It's Canadian whiskey.
I've never heard of Bear Claw. It does
But
sound
something
badass,
like Johnny Walker. I don't want
yeah.
ice in it. I don't want it diluted. Anything smoky, right?
If you've got Blue Label, you don't want it diluted. But if you've got
what do you think? What do you think arborists get paid, man? I don't have Blue Label.
What do you think fucking fabricators get paid? But I did
not enough for Blue Label.
No, I've tasted Blue Label once, and it was a special occasion type of thing.
Yeah, look, I've had it. Like you can buy a shot of it, you know.
Yeah. We're as working class, we're not buying bottles of it. But the bottles of stuff that we're buying, I'm perfectly fine.
Nobody's buying a bottle of Blue Label here.
No. But I'm perfectly fine with the stuff that I drink, putting a big ice cube in. That's perfectly fine. But I have had
enough. I mean, some of the stuff that I buy, and I told you at the beginning of, if anyone's still watching, who was watching in the beginning, I mentioned how it is a bit of an issue trying to get in the liquor store these days. You know, social distancing. You walk by that bottle of whiskey, you're not walking back.
you really got to slow roll
in a
it.
Face shield says no. You're going to give them weapons next.
It's not a problem until they have the actual.
And every Monday they bring in new regulations.
It's not until they have the actual riot shield with a baton that you really have to worry. When you've got Gladys working at the liquor store with a fucking riot shield and a baton, that's when you really have problems in society.
Turn in a grandfathered weapon and you can get into this liquor store. That's how it's going to happen. That's what they're going to do.
Oh.
Those are illegal now, but if you bring one to the liquor store, we'll let you in.
All right, I think we've officially circled back to the beginning. Okay. I think we've accomplished all that we needed to tonight.
I think so.
Yes, let's plan on another time to Zoom.
Well, yeah, it was a pleasure doing this.
Absolutely.
And maybe we can do it again.
Yes.
And maybe I've never met him.
Who? Me?
No, the other guy that you were talking to.
Oh, Leon?
Yeah, Leon.
Yeah, Leon had something else going on. He spaced on what day this was, and then he sent me a text and he said, "Oh shit, that was today. I'm literally like logging into another Zoom conversation right now," type of thing. That's
well, maybe you can have him on another time, and maybe I'll be here, maybe I won't. We'll see.
You feel like you're really not going to be on here again?
I got a baseball game in a restaurant to go to. Wait, no, I don't, because none of that's open.
All right, you got me.
No, there you go. And maybe we'll get